Okay, we can get started. So good afternoon, everyone. At least it is here in San Francisco, California. My name is Eva Wong Moy, and I am the Graduate Affairs Manager in the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics here at the University of California, San Francisco. We're excited to tell you more today about our programs in health data science. We have both a master's program as well as a certificate program. And this information session will aim to give you as much information as possible to help you make a decision about whether our program is the right fit for your training goals. I'm joined here today by our program director, Dr. John Kornack, and I'll give him the opportunity to introduce himself.
Thank you, Eva. And I'd like to also welcome everybody onto this into this presentation. As Eva says, I'm the program director, and we have two programs: the Masters in Health Data Science, known as MIDAS, and the Certificate in Health Data Science, known as CIDAS. I also direct the Biostatistics and Machine Learning Consulting Unit here in the department. And I do a lot of collaborative research around campus, and I guess my specialty is in image analysis methods with applications in dementia. So if we move on to the next slide, Eva.
Yeah, and before you do, I just want to make note that we are recording this session today, and we'll post a recording of this onto our website for your reference in the future and for others who weren't able to make it today. We have a few pre-submitted questions, so we'll go through the agenda today. We have a short slide deck, and we'll leave room and time at the end for any questions you might want to ask us. To submit your questions, please use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom controls there, and we'll get to them at the end of this presentation. So here we go.
Great, thanks, Eva. Okay, so start with a little overview and some background of our health data science program. And I'll talk about the master's and the certificate. And then after giving this sort of background, I'll pass it back to Eva, who will tell you more about the application process and logistics. And then finally, we'll address any questions that have come up. Next slide, please. So MIDAS and CIDAS are quite new programs. They first started in the summer of 2022. And we planned this actually for quite a number of years before, but to meet what was a really clear growing need for more data scientists that we were encountering requests for around UCSF and also around the Bay Area in the biotech industry. However, the courses are not all exactly sort of right out of the box. We've expanded from what was a data science track within the training and clinical research program. So many of the courses have been running for over 5 years now. MIDAS is a 7-quarter program, the master's, and CIDAS is a 4-quarter program. Basically, you can think of the difference as being primarily the second year of MIDAS is focused on a Capstone Project, a kind of apprenticeship in producing research and collaborating with other scientists in health data science. And you can see links for each of the two programs there. Next slide, please. So MIDAS and CIDAS are just one of many educational programs that we have within the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics. We also have a PhD in Epi. We also have the Training and Clinical Research program that I mentioned earlier. And there's a few others too. Faculty and staff in our department come from a very wide range of disciplines from across the university, working in many different clinical and methodological arenas. And, you know, part of the strength of our program and where we sit is that it makes collaboration with other departments kind of a routine process. All of our faculty are regularly working with multiple departments. And so it's a great way to get involved with clinical researchers. So I'm the program director. We also have, going from left to right in the pictures, Erin Scheffler, Elaine Allen, Stathis Guinatas, Jean Fang, and Gilma Valdez. These are sort of dedicated data science and machine learning people. And then we have a bunch of sort of biostat and epi people that are also involved in the program. Next slide, please. The students that we've had so far have a really wide range of backgrounds. They can be students that have recently finished their undergraduate degrees. We have pre-med students, actually some UCSF staff like clinical research coordinators. We have PhD students that are taking time out to work on this master's program. We have medical students, nurses, residents, postdocs, fellows and faculty. So even some faculty that want to sort of expand into health data science, and then biotech industry professionals. So as a student, you will be in many classes with other students and health professionals from across campus and industry. So there's lots of opportunities for networking and collaboration. To say a little bit more about that, just because of how the data science track was developed within training and clinical research, there's some considerable overlapping courses with the training and clinical research program. And they're made up of a lot of residents and fellows. So the potential to make connections with people in the clinical world are very sort of promising here. Next slide, please. In terms of the course plan, there's sort of four main components that we have. The biggest component are the health data science courses. Then we have one specific course you have to take in epidemiological methods, and then some biostatistical methods too, which are key for working in data science within the health arena. There's a bunch of elective courses I'll give you a brief overview of in a minute. And then we have a health data science program seminar, which is kind of a flexible series of lectures that we have that are tailored towards helping you see different parts of research around campus, potentially connecting you to capstone projects, as well as looking at new emerging topics and really anything that as a group you have problems with or difficulties understanding. We can create special seminars to help you understand those issues. Next slide, please. So the health data science courses we have an introductory course in the summer, the kind of an overview course called The Opportunities and Challenges of Complex Biomedical Data. So looking at lots of different aspects of health data science, which is a very broad area. Then also there's a first introduction to programming for health data science. We're primarily focused in R, but we'll also be looking at Python, which are those are the two big data science programming arenas, and almost completely dominant within health data science. And so part one will be taken in the summer, and then part two, where you're getting more into playing around with data organization, would come in the fall quarter. Yeah, at UCSF, we operate a 4-quarter system. So it's a summer, fall, winter, and spring. There's a machine learning in R for the biomedical sciences. So that's where you really start to get into some of the base methods that are out there for machine learning. applied data science with Python will also cover sort of like some of similar topics, and there'll be some overlap, but it comes a little bit more from an industry perspective. And then in the spring quarter, you progress on to understanding machine learning from theory to application. So now you're getting really into the building blocks of the machine learning methods and some of the cutting edge techniques that are out there. In year 2, as an optional course, you'll be able to take advanced machine learning for biomedical sciences too. So that starts to get into more theoretical stuff and how to build your own algorithms from scratch. And as I mentioned before, we have this health data science programs seminar that goes across all quarters, geared towards helping guide you towards capstones and dealing with a wide range of stuff that doesn't get covered in other courses. Okay, next slide, please. The Epi and Biostat courses, there's an introduction to epidemiology. Largely, this is so you can sort of understand where a lot of the health data science and biostatistical methods fit within the clinical fields. Then there's a sequence of biostat courses starting with introductory biostatistics, going on to regression methods, linear and logistic in part 2. And then in part 3, you start to look at survival analysis and longitudinal models, so tracking people over time. And there's a real... These courses are not so focused on theoretical underpinnings, although there is some math involved in these courses, but they're much more focused on an applied intuitive understanding of the methods that are needed in the field. And finally, there's a short course on responsible conduct of research, and this will also come up in the seminar series, that when you're working in health, there's more to consider in terms of ethics than there might be if you're doing data science in banking or something. Next slide, please. We also have a bunch of elective courses within the department. I'm not going to read through them here, but you can peruse them here, or you can look up via our website. The thing that we have to note is that as a self-supporting program, the university does not allow health data sciences students to take additional courses outside of the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics. So any courses that are internal to us, you can take, but you can't go outside of our department or to other UC campuses to take courses. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, if you're going on to the master's program in year 2, the main focus of year 2 is a capstone project, and there are 4 components to this. By the end of the year, you will have submitted a first authored publication in a scientific journal that's related to data science methods or in applications of data science. It does not necessarily have to be accepted by the journal. It's just that your scientific committee has to accept that it's good enough for submission. And so, since I mentioned scientific committee, everybody who's working on their capstone gets a committee of 3 members. There'll be 1 person from biostat data science. There'll be 1 person from a clinical area, and then there's also a chairperson, which can be from either side, depending on what's most appropriate. And their objective is to make sure you're on track through your 2nd year to complete all of this. You also need to give an oral or poster presentation at a scientific conference. And in addition, we want you to write a report on the background methodology and technical issues related to the submitted publication. So often when you're writing a paper, you only give details that pertain exactly to that paper, but we want to make sure you understand more widely than that. And finally, we ask you to create a code and analysis portfolio for marketing your career skills. So this, you can think of this as kind of like an online CV that links to bits of code that you may have done and other aspects of your career. Next slide, please. Another component of year 2 is educational practice. So in year 2, a requirement is that you work as an EA in one of the courses that you've taken during the first year. So that means that you'll be within attending the lectures and the labs and being there to help any students with difficulties, grading homeworks. And we consider this an important skill to have, whether you're in academia or whether you're in industry, because as a health data scientist, you are almost certainly going to be working in a collaborative team, and you're going to have to explain data science related concepts and interpret results for researchers and bosses that have a diverse range of expertise and may not understand many of these concepts directly. And so it's a really important skill to build to be able to explain these ideas. And this educational practice will prepare you for that. Next slide. Okay, so I think this is my final slide before I hand back to Eva. And I just want to point to the kind of careers that you can expect to go into after this program. Now, I want to emphasize that what this is a program that prepares you for working as either professionals with a focus on data science methodology, to be able to work collaboratively with clinical health scientists who would supply the substantive domain expertise for you to be able to work as a professional whose primary interest is in the approaches and computational methods and analysis, perhaps as opposed to the underlying clinical science, or to work in a field like an academic research group or a research group within biotechnology or even government. So, what this course is not, it is definitely not a sort of deep computational science, mathematical development of data science methods. That's not to say you go through this course without having to do quite a bit of mathematical thinking or programming, but it's definitely not at that sort of cutting edge level of methods development. The goal is more that you can integrate into a health data science kind of research position. Okay, so thanks for listening from me. I'll hand back to Eva and then I'll be back for the questions.
Great, thank you, John. The next couple of slides will go through some logistics in terms of how to fund our program, what the costs look like, as well as more information about our application process and timeline. And so we'll start with funding a program. The current program fee for the 2023-24 academic year is it's just over about $44,000 per year. So for master's, for students pursuing the master's degree, it will be northward of about $86,000. The program fee is adjustable by year. We are subject to the same campus fees as all other programs and more or less out of our control. For certificate students, then the cost will be closer to that $44,000 for fees and tuitions. The fees do not include the cost of books and supplies and housing and personal expenses, but I can say that it does include health insurance, student health insurance costs. If you have comparable health insurance and wish to waive our university student health insurance, then that fee will come down by the insurance premiums. Tuition and fees are the same for all students, regardless of residency status in California or the United States. So everybody in the program pays the exact same fees. We do have a wonderful financial aid office. We call them here, they're our Student Financial Services Office. They offer opportunities for U.S. citizens and eligible non-citizens to apply for federal loans and financial aid. It behooves those who are interested in pursuing financial aid opportunities through our financial aid office to apply early to our program so that you meet their application deadlines. Additionally, applicants from outside the United States must be eligible to obtain an F1 visa or other student visa or other visa that allows for academic study in the United States. And they must demonstrate that they have financial support to attend our program and live in the United States. We have a wonderful International Students and Scholars Office who supports all of our international applicants once they're admitted into our program in order to ensure that all the necessary paperwork and visa requirements are obtained. I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the application components. If you haven't already, if you haven't opened our application already, just to see what's in there, the link to our application is both on our website and here on this slide. And I'll just go over a couple of quick tips and tricks and advice for some of these application components. With regards to test scores, GRE is not required for our program. We don't even allow you to optionally provide us with your GRE scores. So that will not be taken into consideration when reviewing your application. For those of you whose English is not your primary language, or you're coming from a country where English is not the home language, we do require English language proficiency test scores through the TOEFL or the IELTS. You can find out more information on our website and on the application itself that will detail the minimum scores as well as opportunities for waiving that English language proficiency requirements. We do require that all transcripts from institutions you've previously attended be submitted with your application. Unofficial transcripts are perfectly fine. There's no need to send us official transcripts. If you completed coursework or degrees outside of the United States, please submit transcripts that are at least translated into English. And at best, if you can provide us with an evaluated transcript, an unofficial copy is fine from an evaluation service such as World Education Services. That would help in our understanding what equivalency your home institution has to the United States system. We do require 3 letters of recommendation, and these individuals can come from any parts of your life that can really speak to your preparation for graduate school for pursuing this degree in health data science. And all 3 letters of recommendation must be received by the application deadline to be considered. We do ask for a copy of your resume and CV. Detail your work experience, your research experience, any fun clubs that you've done, your education, and so on. We have 2 written statements that we ask of each applicant. First is the statement of purpose. Let us know your why. Why our health data science program, why UCSF, a little bit about your training goals. And we're really looking to make sure that our program is a good fit for you. And likewise, that you're a good fit for our program as well. Our second written statement is our personal history statement. This is really an opportunity for applicants to let the admissions committee know anything else about you that we can't see on your application. If there was a blip in your academic training, if there were circumstances that came into your life that prevented you from taking advantage of all the opportunities afforded to you, please let us know in that personal history statement. That lets us know a bit more about who you are as a person and what brought you here to pursuing this graduate degree. Lastly, I'll make a note about our application fee. There is one. It is managed by the graduate division, and there is an application fee waiver that is available through the application itself. That's how you apply, is through the application site. That is all managed by the graduate division. One important note is that application fee waivers are only open for U.S. citizens and permanent residents. So those of you who are international applicants, there is no opportunity for fee waiver. Okay. So those are the main application components. Those are I get a lot of questions about those particular pieces. To go through our application deadlines, our first priority deadline is January 15th, 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. We say that this is an international student priority deadline primarily because we want to give international students ample time to navigate the visa obtaining process or visa transfer process. It also allows for additional time to for non-international students to begin thinking about financial aid opportunities, and for all applicants really to begin thinking about the housing process should you decide to come to our program. Our final application deadline is April 1st, 2024, again, 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. And this is our drop dead deadline. We will not be considering any applications after this date. And we do a little bit of a rolling admissions process. And so get your applications in as soon as you can, and we'll try and turn that around in a timely manner, just so that we can begin building our cohort and you can begin coordinating your lives behind that as well. And again, early application submission is encouraged for applicants who require housing, visa, or financial aid. And so that's really highly recommended. One really important note to make is that our program start date is July 15th, 2024 for this upcoming application cycle. As John noted when he was discussing the courses offered in our program, many of them are summer courses. So I want to make sure that this is very clear. We expect that our students will be here in San Francisco, California in person no later than July 15th. If you happen to have or are enrolled in a current academic program that does not finish by that date, or to where you can't get a letter that says, I confirm, that this student has completed all degree requirements, then we encourage you and invite you to apply for our program next year. We do not offer a fall start. So we only offer a summer start right now, and that's July 15th, 2024. So a few FAQs that typically come up. Can individual ticker courses be applied to MIDAS or CITUS? And so ticker is our training and clinical research program. There have been individuals in the past who have taken, one-off classes just to further their education. And maybe it was a biostatistics course or another sort of clinical research related course itself. And so can that be applied to MIDAS? It sort of depends on how long ago you've taken the class. And so it's evaluated on an individual basis. So if this applies to you and you have more questions about that, please reach out to us. Can I complete this master's or certificate completely online? Unfortunately not. We are an in-person program. We expect our students and our courses are being held in person in San Francisco, California. Is this program STEM OPT designated? Our master's program is. So graduates who are STEM who are OPT eligible. This is particularly for our F1 visa international students. Our master's program is qualified for the 2-year STEM OPT, but our certificate program is not. And then I addressed this before. Do you offer a fall quarter start? And the answer is no. This is our email address. Please jot it down. We check this fairly regularly just to address any questions that come up for you about our program or about the application along the way. During the registration for this webinar, we did collect some pre-submitted questions, and I see that there are a couple in the Q&A now. So thank you all for your really wonderful questions. We'll take let's see, we're at 12:30 now, so we can go all the way to 1 o'clock answering your questions. So please don't hesitate to open your Q&A and submit your questions through there. So John, I'm going to give you the first one, and it's a good one. What level of coding experience do you recommend for this program?
Yes, it is a good question. And so what would be required is 0. You don't need to have done any coding. At the same time, that might be a pretty scary way to come into the program. So you can look around at various like introductions to R on the internet, and it's probably a good idea to look at those and just get a feel for what might be involved in programming in R. Not necessary, and even, you know, you can try it out yourself. It's free. You can just download it and work through a few tutorials. So that would be my recommendation. But obviously, the more you have, the better. If you know, just following up on the start date being in the summer, for somebody who is really computationally very, very fluent already, you know, it'd probably be worth a discussion, first of all, whether this program is the right program for you, but also in addition, we might be able to sort of consider that you might be able to sort of place out of one or two of the courses, and we can see about pushing you up further forward. That was probably a longer answer than you were looking for, I think, but overall, you don't need to have experience.
Thanks, John. Kind of sticking in that prerequisite place or preparation space, one of the pre-submitted questions was, are there any course prerequisites for the program? And I can take that on if you'd like me to.
You can take it first if you want, and then I can just add any.
So yeah, so we don't have any formal course prerequisites. We would have put that on a slide and on our website, certainly, and called it out as a minimum admissions requirement. But we do advise applicants to the program to have experience and or coursework in the quantitative or biomedical science space or a related field. And I think that just builds a good foundation for coming into our program. John, I don't know if you have anything more to add to that.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. I mean, it's a quantitative program, or a large part of it is quantitative. And if that doesn't suit you, then it's probably not the program for you. But as to specific everything that will be covered, that there will be nothing that you will need to have known before you came into the program specifically.
Thank you, John. I think I'm just going to start. I was going to try and group these questions together, but I think that's hurting my brain a little bit. So we'll just go through in order the questions that were submitted through the Q&A. And again, thank you all for your really good questions. For the educational apprentice position, will you be compensated? The answer is no. This educational apprentice and educational practice requirement is a programmatic requirement. So consider it as a graduation requirement, and certainly you'll receive academic credit for doing so, but it is not a compensated or paid position. Should you seek other teaching positions in other departments or other opportunities, then that is certainly available if you find it. But this particular one that we will assign you, and we go through a process of asking our students to rank their preferences and so on, that particular role is not compensated.
I would just add that this is something that we have had students who have sort of found positions on campus and are working similar, like since they started in the program, and have developed very early on sort of connections and found paid work on campus.
Thank you, John. So good question. Is this considered a self-supporting program? And this person who asked this question is asking about the reduced fee enrollment program through UCSF. Yes, we are considered a self-supporting program. And so students in our health data science programs are not eligible for the reduced fee tuition. So if you are a current UCSF staff or faculty member, you will have to pay the same fees as everyone else in the program. There are no tuition discounts through that university program. What does the daily class schedule look like? Well, we try and group our classes as best that we can because we are in a department with many other classes. We try not to overlap many of our classes so that our students can have ample opportunity to take as many courses as they wish to. I would say on average, our students are in class probably at least 2 full days. So typically from morning to late afternoon. We try not to have any courses past 5 o'clock or earlier than like 8:30. And then there might be at least 2 half days. I know at least for our health data science program seminar, those are scheduled on Fridays, but are offered every other week. So your schedule could change and fluctuate slightly by week to week, but you can expect to be on campus and in class approximately 3 to 4 days during the week.
And those 2 dominating days are Tuesday and Thursday, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Can the second year of the master's be completed hybrid? John, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, no, so a really key part of this is that you're working on campus, so we don't allow for hybrid either in the course at either first year or second year. That's
right. And, for the second year in particular, because you'll be in your educational apprentice position for one of the quarters, all of our courses are being taught on site and in person. So the expectation is that you'll be around campus in San Francisco for your second year. John, I'm going to give this one to you. Will this program set me up to work in clinical trials?
Well, it depends what you mean by working in clinical trials. Certainly, we can. There's I believe an elective on clinical trials that you can take. There's certainly within the capstone we have sort of potential projects for you to work on that would get you heavily involved in clinical trials. But working in clinical trials involves sort of a very wide range of people, from sort of data analysts that are analyzing the results of clinical trials at the end. Typically, they would be more sort of biostat SAS oriented. So this would probably not be the perfect program if that's where you want to be and sort of like be analyzing clinical trial data. Though there are sort of many areas of clinical trials, particularly in academia, where you would this would prepare you very well for that. But yeah, again, not so much the traditional SAS programming data analyst. I'm not sure that I can be more specific than that without a more specific question. But if you want to post sort of like what you were thinking, exactly kind of position, I can give you a better idea.
Yeah, or if it requires a deeper level of specificity, feel free to email us too, and I can connect you with John as well. Are there available institutional scholarships? We don't offer scholarships through our program yet. In our infancy, we'll be admitting our 3rd cohort into the program. We don't have those funds available through our program itself. There's certainly outside scholarships that we definitely encourage students in our program, applicants to our program, to apply for. Our Student Financial Services Office has a web page with scholarship databases and ideas for where to look for funding your graduate studies. So please, I invite you to search for that. John, here's one for you. Do any of the courses teach Stata? You mentioned that many of our courses operate in R, and then certainly growing into Python. But what about Stata?
Yeah, so as Stata is central to the biostat courses. They focus on Stata, although they've been expanded to also incorporate R for people that don't care too much about going towards Stata, but you will certainly be at the very least exposed to it. And there's also an elective introduction to statistical computing course that's like the intro to Stata. We don't require that of our students, but the whole biostat sequence of courses will cover a lot of Stata. Yeah.
Thanks, John. Let's see, will courses be taught in a manner that would allow for commuters from surrounding Bay Area to attend, but not move to the San Francisco Bay Area? Yes, certainly. You know, I mentioned before when we answered the question about what the daily course schedule, what the week looks like. We do have students in our program who are commuting from outside of San Francisco. And so there may be long days, right? So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you may be on campus from about 8:30 to 5 p.m. With certainly some breaks in between and a lunch break. We do have facilities within our building. Our program is situated in Mission Hall in the Mission Bay campus of San Francisco. Our department offices are in Mission Hall. We aim that almost 99% of our classes are held within the building. And so our department spaces have, drop-in focus and huddle rooms for students to use, as well as areas for group study, to have lunch. There's a kitchen and all that. So for those of you who might be considering our program and commuting to and from campus, we do have students who are doing that, and certainly you'll find a space to kind of hunker down in between your classes if needed. Will this recording and our deck be available to review after the webinar? Yes, these will be made available on our website. Give us about a week. It takes a little bit to upload to different places and coordinate with different offices, but they will be up on our website shortly. John, how selective is the admissions committee, and what are the statistics for admissions? And let me just take the second one for now. The graduate division will be posting statistics for our admissions after they have more data. We have only gone through 2 admission cycles right now, and there's a little bit of a lag in getting our program statistics up. But if you're curious to see what, I'll put into the chat right now, if you're curious to see what our other master's programs at UCSF, what their graduate statistics look like. Here is that website. Soon, I know one day, our program will be listed here as well with more statistics. But John, if you have anything more to add to that, or if you can talk about how selective is our admissions process.
I can just say that, we have a pretty high acceptance rate. I don't know exactly what it is. So we take a very holistic view towards applicants, and like I say, the course does not assume a large amount of prerequisites, except that you have a general quantitative bio interest. So did you already take the question off? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The first part was
yeah, it's just how selective the admissions committee is, and then what are the statistics for admissions.
Yeah, so and I think most people that have applied for the program have been very well targeted towards the program, so our acceptance rate has been quite high.
Thank you, John. Does this program allow time for folks who would like to continue to work either full-time or part-time? Certainly part-time, I think it affords, for the way that our courses are structured. And, we also come from a space of scheduling our courses with clinical researchers in mind, or those who have clinical responsibilities. We don't want to have you here on campus every day. I think that's unsustainable for graduate for graduate school. But so we do have students who continue to work part-time. Full-time may be a little trickier. And, I think a lot of it depends on how flexible your employer is with regards to you being able to come to campus and take classes. That said, I will make note that lectures for our classes are typically recorded and posted to the course site, usually later that afternoon or evening. And so if you can't make a lecture for whatever reason, say you're working and there's an important meeting or something that you have to do that overlaps with your course, and you can catch up on those lectures because they are recorded. But what's challenging is because we're a bit more hands-on health data science program, the small group discussion sections and the computer labs are not recorded. And it's during that time that you want that sort of hands-on contact and opportunity to work problems out with your course directors and with your course support, with your EAs. So that would be sort of the part that I would say is not duplicatable, I guess, if I were to start making up words during this webinar. But certainly lectures are recorded and you can catch up if your schedule doesn't align with the course offering. And then I'll also note that our program seminar is not recorded. And so those are live seminars that take place. And so there's no opportunity to sort of make up a guest lecture that has come in for that day. Okay.
I would just add that full-time would be brutal. If you're working full-time, to try and do this as well would be, I would say not necessarily impossible, but it would be very tough.
And, you know, for those of you who are wish to continue working full time, but you have an interest in pursuing some training in health data science, we do offer our classes as individual courses that you can enroll in sort of as one-off classes. And that's an opportunity just to further, you know, certainly your training without committing to a full degree program. What can someone do if they don't have great quantitative background, but have good experience in coding?
Yeah, that's a good question and not necessarily an easy one to answer. I mean, there's certainly you can do things like just going online and looking at sort of calculus review courses and videos and introduction to linear algebra and matrices. We do most of our courses, particularly early on, try to teach in a way where you don't have to be in a strong position quantitatively. I'd say at least for the first 2 quarters. And we hopefully bring you up to speed and have time to get you there. But so if you don't have a great quantitative background, but you're not uncomfortable working with quantitative things, then I would say, you know, even if you could email me and I can give you a list of YouTube videos, go look at them, and you'll probably be ahead of many students by the time you finish looking at those. At the same time, if you are not comfortable with quantitative work at all, or then I'm not, you know, I'm not sure. There will be a point at which some things do get quantitative, and it would potentially be tough. So yeah, I'm happy to discuss that with you one-on-one, or if you want to be sort of discuss that more specifically for your case. But in general, you know, do as much background reading and watching YouTube videos as you can, and you should be in a good space.
Great, thanks, John. Do students go on to pursue further graduate programs in this field or others after graduation? We don't have data on that yet. Our first cohort of students is still making their way through our program. So we don't have any graduates of the program yet. So we don't have firm data to give to you. Anecdotally, just from the conversations we've been having with our students, certainly there are many who are interested in furthering their graduate studies and pursuing doctoral degrees after their training in our master's program specifically. And so there are some of the more popular ones that students have come to me with are UCSF and UC Berkeley have a new joint PhD program in computational precision health. They are in, let's see, they just admitted their first cohort of students, so they're a brand new program as well. But we're seeing certainly, John, and maybe you can speak more to this, more and more programs that crop up in this sort of computational health, health data science space.
Yeah, I think that's gives a pretty good overview. So there are students that want to go on to graduate programs. I would again step back a little bit and say, you know, if your goal is a computer science, data science, machine learning methods research PhD, then this is probably not going to be the best program to give you the leg up to that. However, if you want to work on a sort of more collaborative kind of PhD project then there is great potential for that. And then the computational precision health science program is a mix of those two things. They have some people that are that they're looking for from a more computer science thing, perspective, and there are people that they're looking for that are coming more from a health science perspective, and you would kind of be in the middle coming out of this program.
Thank you, John. Really good insights there. How many students will we accept into the program?
Well, I would say probably not much more than 25, realistically. That's kind of where our threshold will be.
Thank you. Would you recommend a certificate program for a practicing data scientist looking to retool for health-related fields, either within or outside academia?
That's also a very good question. And my answer would be maybe, and I would also recommend you to contact me to discuss your specific circumstances as to whether that would be a good fit or not. And it depends kind of, yeah, in what sense you're looking to retool for health-related fields.
As I encourage the individual who asked that question to reach out to us, and we can connect you with John. All right. Are there international students in the program, and will there be opportunities for international students in securing TA or research assistantships? Yes, we do have quite a decent population of international students. I think in our first cohort, they were nearly all international students. And by all, I mean we have 6 students in the first cohort, and 5 of them were international students. And then certainly in our second year, that it's more balanced between international and non-international students. So yes, we do have international students in our program. And so we've built such a great partnership again with our International Students and Scholars Office to make sure our international students are supported. In terms of opportunities for international students and identifying other work opportunities, whether they're research assistantships or TA opportunities, we put the responsibility on the student to seek out those opportunities. When we learn about opportunities, we certainly let the entire student population know, but we are not actively as a program seeking that for each individual student. That is a very student-driven process, but we can certainly advise you on sort of where to look, or if there are connections that we can make to the greatest extent possible, will help facilitate that.
Yeah, and I would add that there are sort of many students. I think I know three of our three of the 6 first year cohort students found some paid work, and it's through the seminar series, through connecting with your capstone projects. Those things kind of automatically happen. We don't require that you do in the summer any sort of summer internship. Most students have sort of expressed a desire to do that, and where we can, we're willing to be helpful, but we're not guaranteeing internships or any positions.
John. And so our next question is, can folks in the certificate program roll over into the master's program? And how and when can that happen? We haven't had that happen just yet, but we are prepared for that. If folks let us know, if folks enrolled in the certificate program sometime during year 1, let us know that they wish to pursue the master's program. There is a process for doing that. We definitely, I believe the graduate division has told me that we need the student to reapply to the master's program. And really it's so that the admissions committee can have an opportunity to evaluate your application again to make sure that your goals are fitting within the goals and what we have to offer in the master's program. And we certainly need to know that in advance enough so that we can prepare for working with you and identifying a graduate committee and a capstone project in order to move forward with that. So we do have a process for that. And so it's done on a case-by-case basis, certainly. Let's see, having a graduate researcher, let's see, a GRA, I imagine that's a graduate research assistant or TA position via UCSF, cover the tuition portion of this program and our stipend. If it is a paid position, absolutely stipend. And so both graduate student researchers is what we call them here at UCSF. And TA positions are both a part of our graduate student union at this point. And so there are salary scales that are publicly available. And yes, depending on the percent effort that the student is appointed to this position, there may be tuition coverage that can be applied to this program. It has to be at least my understanding is it has to be at least a 25% position or above for there to be any amount of tuition coverage. And that's all stipulated by the bargaining agreements with the graduate student unions. And I think our final question, and I'm just looking at time, we're like right on time. So this will be our final question today. Will there be an interview after submitting the application? Typically not. We review the application. Again, John mentioned earlier, we have a very holistic review application. We have a group of faculty who comprise our admissions committee. If there is a question that comes up with the admissions committee, it's not uncommon that we will ask to schedule time to meet with an applicant to have whatever questions arise for the admissions committee to be addressed before making an admissions decision, but we don't blanket interview everybody who applies to our program. It's only in the exceptional case where we need a little bit more information from the applicants. Okay, we did it, friends. So we're coming up right on time. We really appreciate all of you joining us today and learning more about our health data science programs at UCSF. Our email address is right up here on the screen. It's healthdatasci@ucsf.edu. Please reach out if you have any questions about our program, about your situation. Ultimately, we want to make sure that our program is a good fit for you, and that that we will meet your training goals to the best extent possible. And I think that the fit piece is really what we are accomplishing to do when reviewing your application. John, do you have any final words for our participants today?
All I have is thank you for joining and sticking it out for the hour. And yeah, I hope this has been informative and helpful to you all.
Great, wonderful. Have a wonderful day, everybody. And we hope to either see your application soon or hear from you soon through our various channels. So have a wonderful day. Thank you.